Well, hey, everybody, this is Kim Stevens, your community leader for the Women of the Channel Leadership Network, and welcome to another WOW session. I have with me a very special advisory board member, and I can't wait for you to meet her. This is Heather Gonzalez. She is with Morpheus Data. She's a global channel sales director. Heather, thanks for joining me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Kim. It's such an honor to be here. I was super excited when you asked me to participate.
So tell us about your career path and how you got to where you are.
Yeah, like so many women in IT, I would have never imagined that I would find myself in this industry. Now, I'm super glad that I did, but there's that saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and obviously with some exception, but I think that really talks about kind of how I got into this career and how a lot of doors opened up for me and the importance of networking, et cetera. But I graduated from college. I went to school up north and I moved home. And back then and still today, I mean, San Diego was really, it was a hospitality area. If you were in biotech, it was a great area. Or if you were a Marine or in the Navy, fantastic. But when I graduated, I didn't specialize in any of those, and the job economy was pretty bad. So I started bartending, which is what I had done up at school. And one of my regulars came in and said, "Hey, I'll teach you how to sell technology." So I went to work for him. It was a small VAR. Then I got introduced into another VAR sort of OEM called Endatico, which is kind of a legendary name in the industry for this area. And then I got introduced to a company called Mocha, which was a distributor of Sun Microsystem products, eventually got acquired by Arrow. But I had an amazing 15-year run when I was there. I started in at marketing, and when I left, I was running a $2 billion practice there. So pretty crazy. And, life happened in that, like got married and had kids and all of that. After Arrow, I ended up at the competition at Avnet, doing more distribution, ran the EMC business over there for the West. And then I took a run and wanted to do something different. And I've been working with solution providers for 20 years now. So Technologent had called, and I had the opportunity to go over there and be their vice president of global marketing, communications, and alliances. And it was another fantastic run. I was there for 4 years. And then, as I think what happened with a lot of people during COVID, I kind of thought about, well, what's next? And I miss being in sales and being, close to the channel and working with all variations of the channel. And this opportunity to come to Morpheus and work for a startup, which I'd never done, presented itself, and I found myself here.
So Heather, obviously you're in a leadership position. You've done many different jobs and different companies. So throughout the years, what are some things that you do to differentiate yourself?
Yeah, I have really high energy, and I feel like I'm always up for a challenge. So I find myself saying yes to opportunities where I can really pave my own way and create new practices within organizations that never existed before.
Okay.
An example would be, we talked about my time at Mocha/Arrow. When I started there, I started in the marketing program, but I was going to be the first field deployed marketing person. And it was kind of like, go create it. But I had to go and create it on the East Coast. So I had to leave San Diego and move to the East Coast, which was, exciting and definitely a challenge. Fast forward a number of years in different roles within Arrow, and the president of Arrow came to me and said, "Hey, we need a practice that doubles down on our strategic accounts." And so I created a plan and grabbed a team and took a book of business to $2 billion. At Technologent, when I got the opportunity to go to a solution provider, they'd never had a VP of marketing and communications, and they didn't have the brand recognition that they needed. And I'd been out of marketing for a while, so this was really going to be a challenge. But in 4 years, we grew that business an additional $350 million, which is amazing for a solution provider. And the brand recognition worked. And there were a lot more other things that I've been able to do and just say yes to. And Morpheus, right? Coming over here, this is a brand new role, and it's challenging me, and it's just giving giving me the opportunity to be creative and stretch myself, which I think is exciting and fun.
Along your journey, when you reflect back, because those were a lot of changes, you could consider them risks, right?
Yeah.
Was there one decision that you made that you would consider to be your most important risk, and what was that, and maybe, or why did that come to be, and what was the outcome from that?
Yeah. So I would say that the most crazy risk I took with my career was stepping away from my career. It's kind of emotional, but I was what I thought was on the most amazing trajectory of my career path. But my personal life was in shambles. I was super off balance. My father had passed away. The unthinkable, and sadly, all too common because we're hearing about it just last week in the news, happened at my daughter's elementary school in our small, safe community. And you never think any of that stuff is going to happen. But, I think to overcome pain, I was traveling all the time and I was burying myself in my work, and my hair was falling out, my health was at risk, and relationships were at risk. And I didn't see a way out. So I was on my knees every night praying and like asking for clarity and for balance or for a different path or something. I laugh because it's, be careful what you ask for, be careful what you pray for, because I found myself with the opportunity to step away. And it was scary. It was a super scary time, but my mentor, who at that time and is still a mentor and a dear friend today, said, not only just step out for a month, 3 months, he's like, take time. He's like, take a year. And I was like, how am I going to do that? No, you need to do this. And he was absolutely right. It gave me the time to breathe and to reconnect and to be with my family who really needed me, and for me to care for myself. And I think the reason it was so scary in our industry, everything moves so fast. So you think for every day that you're out, like you're getting further and further behind on what's going on and who's who in the zoo, and your network is changing. And but my mentor said, you're going to be fine. This is going to be fine. You need to do this. And aside from regrounding, I think what it did for me was it really helped me understand that what is on my business card does not define me. My title does not define me or anybody. And that was big. So when I got back into my career, I didn't jump back into a leadership role. I didn't jump back into, I've got to do this and I've got to travel all over North America. And, I decided to take a job that was in my backyard, local, in the West. I wasn't on the road all the time. And I was really insecure about putting my title on my business card and putting it out on LinkedIn. But at the end of the day, my happiness, my family's happiness was the most important part. And I was really happy being in an individual contributor role for 4 years and just taking that time that we needed to get back in and to feel good about what I was doing, but not to be able to be present here with my family.
I've gone through a similar realization where my business card has nothing to do with my value.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you feel this way. I almost felt silly that it took me so long to realize that.
Oh yeah. 100%.
And it was so freeing. And there's still a little bit, because my ego gets wrapped up in it, and you have to let it go because that's really so not important.
You know what, Kim, 100%. And you reminded me of a conversation that I had at Women of the Channel West with this lovely young woman. We happen to be seated at the same table, and she works for a huge company. And, she just started asking me about my career and my path. She's like, well, how old were you when you became a vice president? Like, what was that? What was your path to that? And I said, tell me a little bit more about you and tell me about your job. And she was the head of EMEA for a department. I won't say the company name or whatever, but, I said to her, your title, you're a badass. Like I understand what you do and you are a badass. You don't need VP on that title for any of us in the industry to know that you're out there kicking butt right now. Yeah. But I think because she was young and younger and maybe like you and I, it took us a long time to realize that our value is not based on that title. And hopefully I instilled that in her. Like, listen, you could come to any other company outside of the one you're at and get a VP title in 2 seconds, because what you're doing at an organization that large would translate to that.
Yes.
My titles would never translate to that over in her organization. So, God bless her. And I get it. I've been in that position where I've been sitting in a boardroom and all of my peers, we all report into the same person and they all had VP titles and they were all men and I was the only woman and I didn't have a VP title and it pissed me off. Mm-hmm. But I made the decision to not let it take away from the accomplishments that I was making along the way.
Are there things that you've kind of noticed that may just seem really simple, but they do have a big impact that are just things you'd want to share that maybe we all could do a little better?
Yeah. I have noticed that women really don't advocate for themselves. And that makes me sad. I think I know that I have probably, I'll joke and say my rising sign. I'm a Pisces by birth, but my rising sign is a Leo, which is very masculine. So I have a good combination of feminine and masculine. So I have a lot of those masculine, like, hey, I'm going to advocate for myself. But then I see the women that don't have the courage to do it or the know-how to do it. And it makes me sad. And I want them to, because if they're not advocating for themselves, who's going to? Your goal is to find people that will, but you also need to speak to those people and say, this is what I'm hoping to do. The other thing that I've noticed is there are a lot of women that don't advocate for other women. And when I said that women that don't advocate for themselves makes me sad, the women that don't advocate for other women makes me mad. Because I don't understand it, right? We're all in this together and there's not enough women in this industry anyway. So it should never be a threat. It should, let's just lift each other up and move. I like to say lift as we climb. That's one of my new mottos, when you do that, you're bringing other people up with you that are also going to continue to support you. So just lift as you climb.
Well, Heather, thank you so much for allowing me to just get to know you better and for sharing everything you shared with us. We are blessed by that. So thank you.
Oh, no, it's been a blessing for me. Thank you. Women of the Channel. I am so grateful to everything that the community does and bringing women together. And, there were so many young women there this year that it was beautiful to see and to see their eyes open and know that they're not alone, right? Even if they're sitting at the boardroom table alone, they're not alone because they have a community behind them. So thank you for everything you guys do.
Oh, you're most welcome. And so to our members, please, when you listen to this, give Heather a shout out. And again, remind you that she is an integral part of our advisory board. So she is the one helping us steer the ship on what we bring to you. So make sure you give her a thumbs up and a thank you for that. So Heather, thanks again. And you guys, we will see you on the next WOW session. You guys take care.
Thanks.